Number 1. The I-70 Killer. Between April and May of 1992, a series of murders occurred across the Midwestern United States that would later be connected to a single unidentified offender known as the I-70 Killer. The name was derived from the interstate highway that linked most of the crime scenes. The attacks targeted small specialty stores located only a few miles from Interstate 70, and the victims were primarily young, petite, brunette women who worked alone during quiet business hours. The first known victim was 26-year-old Robin Fuldauer, the manager of a Payless Shoe Source store in Indianapolis, Indiana. On April 8, 1992, Robin was alone in the store when she was murdered sometime around 1:30 in the afternoon. Her body was discovered in a storage room a few hours later by coworkers. Less than $100 had been taken from the cash register. There were no witnesses, and the scene showed no sign of a struggle. 3 days later, on April 11th, 2 more victims were found murdered inside La Bride d'Elegance, a bridal shop in Wichita, Kansas. They were 23-year-old Patricia Smith and 32-year-old store owner Patricia Majors. The women had stayed open past closing hours to assist a supposed male customer. When he entered, they likely believed he was the client they had been expecting. Both women were murdered with a single gunshot to the head. A real customer arrived shortly after the murders and encountered the killer leaving the store. He described a thin white man with reddish hair and drooping eyelids, armed with what appeared to be an Uzi-style pistol. The man ordered the customer to leave and spared his life, possibly mistaking him for another employee. This eyewitness account produced the first composite sketch of the suspect. On April 27th, the killer struck again in Terre Haute, Indiana. 40-year-old Michael McCown was murdered in Sylvia's Ceramics, his mother's shop. Investigators believe the killer mistook him for a woman because of his long hair and the store's feminine name. McCown was shot once in the back of the head while stocking shelves. Only his wallet and around $50 were missing. The murders continued on May 3rd, when 24-year-old Nancy Kitzmiller was murdered while working at Boot Village in Street Charles, Missouri. She was found by customers around 2:30 in the afternoon. She too had been shot once in the back of the head, and a small amount of money was stolen. 4 days later, on May 7th, the final confirmed victim, 37-year-old Sarah Blessing, was murdered at her gift shop, the Store of Many Colors, in Raytown, Missouri. A nearby video store owner heard a muffled pop and saw the suspect leaving the shop moments later. Witnesses saw him walking toward a hill that led directly to Interstate 70. All victims were murdered with a .22 caliber firearm. Ballistic testing confirmed that the same weapon was used in each confirmed case, possibly an Intratec Scorpion or an Irma Werke ET-22 pistol, firing CCI copper-clad lead bullets. Casings found at the scenes showed traces of jeweler's rouge, suggesting the killer cleaned the weapon frequently. In 2001, another possible related case emerged. 31-year-old Billy Brossman, a clerk at a liquor store in Terre Haute, Indiana, was murdered by a single gunshot to the back of the head. Security cameras captured a white male suspect, similar in appearance to earlier descriptions. This case remains open, and investigators continue to consider it potentially linked to the I-70 killer. Multiple suspects have been investigated and eliminated over the years. Donald Waterhouse, arrested for murdering his parents in Tennessee, and Sean Patrick Goebel, a convicted serial killer from North Carolina, were both considered but ruled out based on differing physical descriptions and methods. Despite nationwide media coverage and features on Unsolved Mysteries, America's Most Wanted, and People magazine investigates, the killer has never been identified. In 2021, police released age-progressed sketches depicting what the suspect might look like today. He is believed to be a slender white male, possibly between 52 and 70 years old, with reddish or sandy blonde hair and drooping eyelids. His motive remains unclear, as robbery appeared secondary, and no sexual assault occurred at any scene. As of November 2025, the I-70 killer remains unidentified and unapprehended. He is confirmed to have murdered at least 6 victims and may have been responsible for up to 10 across several states. The weapon used in the attacks was a .22 caliber semi-automatic pistol, possibly an Intratec Scorpion or Irma Werke ET-22. If you see anyone matching his description, an aging white male, thin build, reddish hair, and heavy-lidded eyes, stay away, do not approach, and immediately contact law enforcement. The killer has never been captured and remains one of America's most elusive serial murderers. Number 2. The Eastbound Strangler. On November 20th, 2006, 4 women were discovered murdered in a drainage ditch filled with shallow water behind the Golden Key Motel, located along Black Horse Pike in Egg Harbor Township, just outside Atlantic City, New Jersey. The victims were found face down, lined up in a row, approximately 60 feet apart, all facing east. Each woman was clothed, though her shoes and socks had been removed. Investigators later concluded that the women were likely choked, giving rise to the name the Eastbound Strangler. All 4 victims were women involved in or connected to street work. They were identified as 42-year-old Barbara Viv Bredor, 20-year-old Molly Jean Diltz, 35-year-old Kim Raffo, and 23-year-old Tracy Ann Roberts. Barbara Bredor, who had struggled with addiction, disappeared in October 2006 and was identified through dental records. Her body has gone too bad to determine the exact cause of death. Molly Diltz, originally from Black Lick, Pennsylvania, was believed to have been the first victim. Though she had no prior record for street work, police believed she was newly involved in prostitution. Her cause of death was also undetermined due to decomposition. Kim Raffo, a mother and former waitress from Brooklyn, was last seen alive a day before the discovery. Evidence suggested she had been choked with a rope or cord. The 4th victim, Tracy Roberts, a former dancer from Delaware, had been hospitalized weeks earlier after being attacked by a man who attempted to control her. She too was believed to have died by asphyxiation. The murders occurred near a poorly lit section of the highway, and the organized arrangement of the bodies suggested deliberate placement. The Atlantic County Prosecutor's Office launched an extensive investigation. One of the earliest persons of interest was 41-year-old repairman Terry Olison, who had been staying at the Golden Key Motel for free in exchange for maintenance work. Olison's girlfriend accused him during a domestic dispute, leading police to search his room. Cameras and photographs of his girlfriend's teenage daughter were found, but no DNA evidence linked him to the crimes. He was later released and never charged. Another individual, Eldred Raymond Burchell, a man who referred to himself as the Riverman, was questioned after allegedly confessing to another woman that he had murdered people. However, authorities found no physical or forensic link between Burchell and the Atlantic City murders. Additionally, local drug dealer Charles Coles, a friend of victim Kim Raffo, and Mark Hesse, an acquaintance of both Raffo and Barbara Bredor, were questioned but ultimately released without charges. In 2010, investigators examined a possible connection between the Eastbound Strangler and the Gilgo Beach serial killings in New York, due to similarities in victim type and body disposal near water. After forensic review, law enforcement ruled out any direct link. The theory resurfaced briefly in 2023 after the arrest of a suspect in the Gilgo Beach case, but it was again dismissed by prosecutors. Despite national media attention, televised coverage on dark mines and the killing season, and a reward of $25,000 for information, no one has ever been charged. The Eastbound Strangler remains unidentified. His methods suggest he was organized, familiar with the area, and capable of controlling his victims without attracting attention. As of November 2025, the Eastbound Strangler remains at large. He is believed to have murdered at least 4 women between October and November 2006, with no confirmed activity since. Based on the estimated profile, he would likely be a white male aged between 50 and 70 years old today. If you see anyone resembling this description or acting suspiciously near the Atlantic City area, stay away, do not approach, and contact law enforcement immediately. The Eastbound Strangler carried out his crimes using manual strangulation and possibly a cord or rope. The killer has never been captured, and his current identity and location remain unknown. Number 3. The Jeff Davis 8. Between May 2005 and August 2009, 8 women were found murdered in and around Jennings, a small town in Jefferson Davis Parish, Louisiana. The bodies were discovered in canals, swamps, and along rural roads, many in advanced stages of decomposition. The case became known as the Jeff Davis 8, or the Jennings 8. The first victim, 28-year-old Loretta Chason Lewis, was found floating in a river on May 20, 2005. Over the following 4 years, 7 more women were discovered. 30-year-old Ernestine Marie Daniels Patterson, 21-year-old Kristen Gary Lopez, 26-year-old Whitney Dubois, 23-year-old Laconia Muggy Brown, 24-year-old Crystal Shea Benoit Zeno, 17-year-old Brittany Gary, and 26-year-old Nicola Guillory. The women were connected through poverty, substance dependency, and street work. Several of them served as police informants, providing information about drugs and other victims before their own deaths. Some, like cousins Kristen Lopez and Brittany Gary, were family. Others lived together shortly before being murdered. Patterson and Brown were confirmed to have had their throats slit. Others likely died by asphyxiation, but decomposition made the exact cause of death difficult to determine. The investigation drew immediate suspicion due to its handling. Local law enforcement was accused of negligence and corruption. A 14-agency task force was formed in December 2008 to find a supposed serial killer. However, journalist Ethan Brown's 2016 book, Murder in the Bayou, suggested a different theory, that the murders were not committed by one person but were linked to the local drug trade, police corruption, and a network of exploitation involving both victims and law enforcement. Connections between the victims and police were numerous. Kristen Lopez had witnessed police shoot and murdered an unarmed man named Leonard Crochet in 2005, an incident involving several people tied to the victims. Witnesses later claimed some of the murdered women were silenced because they knew too much about the shooting. Multiple suspects were questioned. Among them, local strip club owner and substance dealer Frankie Richard admitted to using crack substance and having relationships with most of the victims. He was last seen with Kristen Lopez before her disappearance and was repeatedly accused of involvement, but never charged. 2 other men, Byron Chad Jones and Lawrence Nixon, were briefly arrested for Ernestine Patterson's murder, but were released after forensic evidence failed to link them to the scene. The sheriff's office itself came under scrutiny after Chief Investigator Warren Gary was accused of purchasing a truck believed to have been used to transport one of the bodies, potentially to hide evidence. By 2009, mounting allegations forced the sheriff to order DNA testing for all officers involved in the case, though results were never released. Inmates later claimed that deputies helped dispose of a victim's body at the direction of Richard, but these statements were ignored, and the officer who recorded them was dismissed. Despite national attention and ongoing investigations, no one has been convicted. The murders remain unsolved, and no clear suspect has been publicly identified. Theories continue to divide investigators and residents. Some believe a single serial killer is responsible, while others maintain the deaths resulted from systemic corruption and cover-ups. As of November 2025, the Jeff Davis 8 case remains open. The person or persons responsible for the murders of 8 women between 2005 and 2009 have not been identified or brought to justice. The last known victim, 26-year-old Nicole Guillory, was discovered near Interstate 10 in August 2009. Anyone resembling the described connections, males between 40 and 60 years old with known ties to the local hard substance trade in Jennings, should be avoided. If seen, do not approach and contact the authorities immediately. The unidentified killer, or killers, are believed to have murdered 8 women, using strangulation and sharp force trauma. No arrests or convictions have been secured, and as of November 2025, the Jeff Davis 8 murderer remains free and unidentified. Number 4. The Rainbow Killer. Between early February 2007 and mid-March 2009, a string of murders occurred in Paturis Park, located in Carapicuíba, São Paulo, Brazil. The victims were all gay men, aged between 20 and 40, who were found lifeless in or near the park, a location known to be frequented by street workers and members of the LGBTQ+ community. The case became known nationwide as the Paturis Park Murders, and the unknown perpetrator was soon dubbed the Rainbow Maniac, a grim reference to the rainbow flag symbolizing gay pride. The first victim was discovered on the 4th of July 2007, shot in the head. Over the following months, 11 more men were found murdered in similar circumstances. Each victim was targeted at night, most shot execution style with a .38 caliber revolver. One victim died from repeated blows to the head, and the final known victim was found on the 15th of March 2009, having been shot 12 times. Forensic testing later confirmed that the same firearm was likely used across most of the killings. By late 2008, public pressure forced authorities to intensify the investigation. Witness statements and surveillance efforts led police to suspect that the killer could be connected to law enforcement. On the 10th of December 2008, a retired São Paulo State Police Sergeant named Jairo Francisco Franco was arrested. A key witness alleged that Franco had shot a black gay man multiple times on the night of the 19th of August 2008, near the park's main pathway. Another witness testified that Franco was frequently seen in the area late at night, often approaching or following men believed to be his potential victims. During the investigation, ballistic tests were conducted to determine if Franco's firearm matched the bullets recovered from the scenes, but results remained inconclusive. Despite the gravity of the accusations, Franco maintained his innocence throughout the proceedings. In August 2011, after a lengthy legal process, he was acquitted by a jury with a vote of 4-2 in his favor. The court cited insufficient evidence to link him definitively to the series of murders. Franco was released shortly afterward, having spent nearly 3 years detained. Since his release, no other individual has been convicted for the Paturis Park murders, and the identity of the true perpetrator remains uncertain. Between July 2007 and March 2009, a total of 13 men were murdered. The attacker operated primarily within the same region, using a .38 caliber revolver in nearly all known incidents. As of November 2025, the case remains unsolved, and the Rainbow Maniac has never been conclusively identified or apprehended. The killer is believed to be an adult male, possibly in his 50s or 60s today, with prior familiarity with firearms and law enforcement procedures. If you encounter anyone resembling this description frequenting isolated park areas in São Paulo at night, stay away and contact the authorities immediately. Number 5. The West Mesa Bone Collector. Between 2001 and 2005, 11 women and 1 child were murdered and buried across a barren stretch of desert west of Albuquerque, New Mexico. The area, known as the West Mesa, would later give the unknown killer his name, the West Mesa Bone Collector. The murders went unnoticed for several years, until February 2, 2009, when a woman walking her dog discovered a human bone near a newly built retention pond. Police excavations soon revealed a mass burial site containing the remains of 11 females, most of whom were young Hispanic women between 15 and 32 years old, many involved in street work or struggling with addiction. The victims were identified as Monica Diana Candelaria, Victoria Ann Chavez, Silania Terene Edwards, Doreen Marquez, Veronica Romero, cousins Jamie Barella and Evelyn Salazar, Virginia Cloven, Julie Nieto, Cinnamon Elks, and Michelle Valdez, who was 4 months pregnant. They disappeared between 2003 and 2004. Satellite images later showed tire tracks and soil disturbances consistent with burial activity during that period, stopping abruptly in 2005. Detective Ida Lopez of the Albuquerque Police Department had already compiled a list of missing women involved in street work, linking many of them to the same area before the remains were discovered. Her list became the foundation of the West Mesa investigation, Law enforcement suspected a single serial killer targeting vulnerable women, but others proposed a link to a trafficking network operating through New Mexico and neighboring states such as Texas and Nevada. The investigation produced several persons of interest but no confirmed suspect. Lorenzo Montoya, who lived less than 3 miles from the burial site, was considered one of the strongest leads. Montoya had a history of violence against street workers and had previously threatened to murder his girlfriend and bury her in lime. In December 2006, he choked 19-year-old street worker Sharika Hill before being shot to death by her boyfriend as he attempted to load her body into a vehicle. Police noted that the West Mesa murders appeared to stop after Montoya's death. Evidence found in his home, including a disturbing video showing Montoya with an unidentified woman, deepened suspicion, but no definitive proof connected him to the buried victims. Other men were examined. Photographer Ron Irwin from Missouri was investigated in 2010 after police discovered thousands of photographs of women at his home, though he was later cleared. Colorado serial killer Scott Lee Kimball was questioned but denied involvement. In 2014, police turned attention to Joseph Blee, known as the mid-school rapist, after DNA linked him to a past sexual assault and the murder of a worker. Items found in his home and his proximity to the burial site made him a potential suspect, though no charges were filed related to the West Mesa case. In total, the killer is believed to have murdered 11 women and 1 unborn child between 2001 and 2005, using strangulation and disposal in shallow desert graves. Despite years of investigation and a $100,000 reward, no one has been charged. A 1-acre memorial park was later opened on June 27, 2020, to honor the victims. As of November 2025, the West Mesa bone collector remains unidentified and unapprehended. The killer, possibly a male aged between 50 and 70 years old today, operated primarily near Albuquerque's West Mesa region. If you see anyone exhibiting suspicious behavior consistent with past descriptions or attempting to lure women in the Albuquerque area, do not approach. Stay away, and contact law enforcement immediately. The West Mesa bone collector is suspected of murdering 11 victims and remains free. Number 6. The vending machine killer. Between late April 1985 and March 1986, a wave of indiscriminate poisonings occurred across western and central Japan. The unidentified perpetrator became known as the vending machine killer, responsible for what is considered one of the deadliest product tampering cases in the country's history. The murders were carried out using paraquat dichloride, a powerful herbicide capable of destroying vital organs within days or even hours of ingestion. Victims were ordinary citizens who unknowingly drank contaminated beverages placed on or near public vending machines. The first known incident occurred on the 30th of April 1985 in Fukuyama, Hiroshima Prefecture. A man consumed a bottle of Oronamin C, a vitamin energy drink that appeared to have been left on top of a vending machine. He fell critically ill and died a month later. Laboratory analysis confirmed that the drink had been laced with paraquat dichloride. At the time, paraquat was easily obtainable in Japan and widely used in agriculture. The killer exploited a nationwide "buy one, get one free" promotion run by Otsuka Pharmaceutical, the manufacturer of Oronamin C, by planting poisoned bottles to make them appear as bonus drinks from the vending machines. Over the following months, similar incidents occurred in multiple prefectures, including Tokyo, Shizuoka, and Wakayama. Victims, ranging from teenagers to middle-aged adults, consumed tampered drinks such as Oronamin C, Real Gold, and occasionally Coca-Cola. One drink contained diquat, a related toxic compound. Notable cases included 44-year-old company executive Takashi Sakai, who died after drinking 2 energy beverages, and 52-year-old Haruo Otsu, who died within 2 days of drinking from a free bottle in Tokyo. By December 1985, at least 10 people had died and 35 others were severely ill, with later reports suggesting as many as 13 deaths. Despite an extensive nationwide investigation, Japanese police were unable to identify any suspect. No fingerprints, DNA, or security footage linked anyone to the crimes. Investigators considered the possibility that a single organized individual, possibly with a background in chemistry or agriculture, carried out the poisonings, though others suggested multiple copycats may have been involved. Both Otsuka Pharmaceutical and Coca-Cola Japan reported receiving no extortion threats, indicating no financial motive. The National Police Agency issued urgent public warnings, advising citizens to discard any free drinks found on or near vending machines. Millions of stickers were placed on Japan's 5 million vending machines, and vending machine manufacturers began adding safety features to detect tampering. Psychologists speculated that the murderer may have been motivated by social frustration or a desire for control, describing the attacks as a release of anger within Japan's high-pressure work culture. The culprit was never identified, and no arrests were made. Experts later theorized that some deaths may have resulted from copycat poisoners or suicide attempts mimicking the original murders. In 2010, Japan abolished the statute of limitations for murder, allowing the case to remain open indefinitely. As of November 2025, the vending machine killer remains unidentified. 13 confirmed victims were murdered. The perpetrator, if still alive, would likely be in their 60s or 70s. If you encounter anyone attempting to leave unsealed beverages on or near vending machines, stay away and contact local authorities immediately. Number 7. William Bradford Bishop, Jr. On the first day of March, 1976, in Bethesda, Maryland, William Bradford Bishop, Jr., a respected United States Foreign Service officer, committed one of the most chilling family murders in American history. That morning, the 40-year-old diplomat learned he had been passed over for a promotion at the State Department. Colleagues noted his agitation before he left his Washington, D.C. office, citing illness. He withdrew cash from his bank, purchased a gas can, a ball-peen hammer, a shovel, and a pitchfork, and drove home. Between 7:30 and 8 o'clock that evening, Bishop returned to his family's two-story home. Investigators later concluded that he murdered his wife Annette first, then his mother Lobelia as she returned from walking the dog, and finally his 3 sons, aged 5, 10, and 14 while they slept upstairs. He loaded their bodies into his Chevrolet station wagon and drove more than 270 miles to a wooded area near Columbia, North Carolina. The next morning, forest rangers found a shallow grave and 5 charred bodies, alongside a gas can and tools traced back to Potch's Hardware in Bethesda. Bishop was last seen that same day in Jacksonville, North Carolina, purchasing sneakers while accompanied by the family dog and possibly a dark-skinned woman. 10 days later, concerned neighbors alerted police after noticing the family's absence. Detectives discovered blood splattered throughout the home, confirming a violent scene. Dental records matched the burned bodies to Bishop's wife, mother, and children. On March 18th, his blood-stained station wagon was discovered abandoned near the Appalachian Trail in Tennessee, containing camping equipment, a shotgun, and personal medication. A grand jury indicted Bishop on 5 counts of first-degree murder. Authorities theorized that he fled using his diplomatic passport, possibly with assistance from past intelligence contacts. Multiple sightings followed in Italy, Sweden, and Switzerland, including one by his former colleague Roy Harrell, who recognized him in Sorrento in 1979. Despite extensive global efforts by the FBI, Interpol, and the U.S. Marshals Service, Bishop has never been captured. Theories about his motive varied. Investigators noted he suffered from depression, insomnia, and professional frustration. He was described as intelligent, fluent in 5 languages, and physically fit. FBI profilers believed he might still be living under an assumed identity, possibly working in academia or teaching abroad. As of November 2025, William Bradford Bishop Jr. remains a fugitive. He would be 89 years old if alive. The FBI and Interpol continue to maintain an active warrant and red notice. If you see anyone resembling Bishop, with a cleft chin, mole on the left cheek, and a 6-inch scar on the back, stay away. Contact authorities immediately and do not approach. Number 8. The Alphabet Murders. Between 1971 and 1973, Rochester, New York, witnessed the murders of 3 young girls, Carmen Colon, Wanda Walkovics, and Michelle Maenza, each aged between 10 and 11 years old. Their names shared a chilling pattern. Both first and last names began with the same letter, and their bodies were found in towns beginning with that same letter. Carmen disappeared in November 1971 after running an errand. Eyewitnesses later saw her trying to escape a car along Interstate 490 before being forced back inside. 2 days later, her body was found near Churchville. In April 1973, Wanda vanished while walking home with groceries. Her body was discovered the next day near State Route 104 in Webster. 7 months later, Michelle went missing after school. Her body was recovered in Macedon. Each had been assaulted and murdered by strangulation. Police investigated several suspects, including Carmen's uncle, Miguel Colon, who fled to Puerto Rico and later died by suicide. Firefighter Dennis Termini, a known serial rapist who killed himself during a police chase, and Kenneth Bianchi, later convicted as one of the Hillside Stranglers. Another suspect, Joseph Nasso, was convicted in California for similar double-initial murders, though DNA cleared him of involvement in Rochester. Despite over 800 interrogations, no one was ever charged. The perpetrator operated across Monroe County for nearly 2 years, likely using a car to abduct and transport the victims. Each murder involved assault and ligature or manual strangulation, though the exact weapon remains unknown. As of November 2025, the Alphabet Murders case remains unsolved, and no active suspect has been publicly identified. The killer is believed to have murdered 3 victims. If you encounter anyone resembling a man in his mid-20s to 30s at the time, 6 feet tall, with dark hair, last seen near Rochester in the early 70s, stay away and contact authorities immediately. Thank you for watching. Check out these other interesting clips from the channel, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.